Hello, this is Curt Pringle, and we're here again in our Talking Issues series. And today's a little different. I have recently met this fascinating lady who really demonstrates to me how someone can move from caring for a family and transitioning into the political realm. Let's just call this parent to politician or mother to mayor. I'd like to introduce you to the current mayor of the city of Los Alamitos in Orange County, Tanya Doby. Glad you're here, Madam Mayor.
The pleasure is mine, I assure you.
Good. Really, I wanted to structure this whole thought um, to really express how important it is for people to be engaged in their communities and then transitioning, as you have, even into a further engagement in serving on a local government. Why don't you introduce yourself? I know you're a businesswoman. I know you have two wonderful children. You're married for many years and living in the city of Los Alamitos. So, other than that, fill in who is Tanya Doby?
Well, you've touched on all of my history. I'm originally from Long Beach,
Yes.
born, raised, graduated high school, graduated college, go Beach. I've been
But by
with.
the way, we share that in common.
Oh, see, I knew there was something tethering
Just something
us.
else.
There was something tethering us.
Exactly.
But I've always been an advocate. Like, people don't believe me when I say that I'm an introvert. I absolutely am. I take lots of naps. This year has been lots of naps and exorbitant shopping, but we're not going to address that part. And it's really just a see a need, fill a need type of person. So I started at the Parks and Recs Commission level, and one of my city staff, who I will not name, she roped me into being a part of the Parks and Recs Commission. And I loved it. It's still my favorite commission. And then after that, I had more staff once there was an opening on, I think we had open elections. And they're like, Tanya, you should totally run. Like, you should totally run to be on council. So I had to do some research on that because I'm not the type of person that wants a seat just because one is available. I have to see the value in it because I've turned down lots of other seats, believe it or not. And once I saw the impact that I could make for my children first and then for my community more globally, I was like, okay,
Yeah.
now I didn't win the first time. I
Yes.
think that there were four seats. There were three or four seats and like 5 to 7 people running for them. And I came in second to last. So I was like, well, I tried it. It wasn't for me. So I'm going to move on and just keep doing my volunteerism through the schools and running my business and loving my husband and my children. Then one of the gentlemen that won, shortly after he won, his job transplanted him to Baltimore. And then I had some of the council members at the time say, Tanya, we're going to appoint, you should totally come and interview. Like, we saw how you campaigned. We listened to what you said. We think you would bring value. So we're asking you to consider coming. So I did, and I was selected. I was appointed in 2019 and then duly elected in 2020. And since then, I've seen the value. It's a tremendous value in being in some of the rooms only elected officials can go
Yeah,
into.
but before that though, you were a community activist.
Oh,
You
yeah.
you were engaged with your kids in school, and you
Hmm.
were a parent contributing. So explain that. I mean, you were not engaged in volunteerism in Los Alamitos for the purpose of running for office.
No.
You were focused on improving your community first and improving your kids'
Yeah.
environment at school first.
Absolutely. My the first year my son was in kindergarten, I joined the Friends of group and the PTA. And they were like, "Where did this kinder parent come from?" And I was like, "Look, I need to see how y'all function and you work. I want to become as familiar with the school and with the district and with everything else as I possibly can because I don't just want to take from this community. I have something of value to offer, and I'm going to come and offer that." So I started out in the Friends of group. My very first year helped to put on one of our largest fundraisers, which was called Nightlife, and they do it every year. It's a that organization. It is the one fundraiser where they're looking to make between $50,000 and $80,000 in one night. So I helped with that, and then just as we kind of evolved and people saw what I was good at, I became the what did we? I made up a job because I'll do that too if someone wants me to help them, but they don't have a job that I'd like to do, and I can see the value in helping. I'll say, "Here's what I will do for you." So I became the volunteer recruitment chair person. And I would, because I'm an HR person by trade. So I used to do it with my mother back when I was 16. I would go to job fairs and be a headhunter with her. So I would find what people were naturally good at and I would place them in the positions. Because as a volunteer, I can't pay you. All I can give you is whatever joy you get from doing a good job.
Right.
So I would make sure that whatever job you were in, you felt good about it, and that's the joy that you could take home because that was your only payment I was going to give you. And that was one thing that I also did. But yeah, volunteerism runs deep for me.
Yeah, but see, I really do think that's important because, of course, being a young guy in the city of Garden Grove, I was involved. I was a volunteer. I did a lot of things within my community. And really, I think that's a huge jump from being someone who cares about the community and then say, I'm willing to run for office. So when did that willingness or interest, you put your name on the ballot and you lost. That's something else we share in common, by the way. I didn't lose my first election. I lost my first, second, and third election. So you have one or two up on me. But what motivated you to even consider running for office?
So I'm a praying woman. And most people that know me personally know that because they're like, oh, you pray for me. Come here. We're going to do it right now because I don't want to forget. So I'm just going to do it right now. And just when I was first approached with it, I had to sit back and think. And then my husband and I, because you know that it's not just you. When you have a family, your whole
Right.
family is in public office.
Right.
So I had to make sure that my husband knew what he was signing up for. Although, how do you know? Like, you don't know what you're getting into.
Right.
But as much as we could understand, I was like, hey, this is going to be us. This is another Team Doby moment. Are you ready for this ride? And he was like, well, let's pray about it, think about it, pray about it. Yeah, you need to go and you need to do this. And once I realized that that ideal was not being backed off of, I was like, all right, well, Lord, look, you sent me once and I didn't win. So if you do it, I'll do it. It's fine. And that's just kind of my attitude with things that I'm sent into. I've had wildly successful favor in every room that I've been sent into. I got some stories for ones I placed myself in. They did not end as successfully. But rooms that I'm sent into, it's been a tremendous season.
That's great. So the context of local elections usually in California are people who are elected to those offices. That is a little subset of their life. That we all have other jobs when we're in office. So tell us about your occupation. So you're a businesswoman,
Yes.
and that's your foundation in terms of what you do to get paid. So
Yeah.
briefly, tell us what that is.
So I am an apparel and accessories broker. I started, my husband actually encouraged me to start a business maybe 8 or 9 years ago. He was like, hey, you too smart to just be sitting here doing, you have a degree, let's figure something out that works around you being home with the children. Because the first priority was that I would be available to my kids. And I was like, all right, cool. So I got into apparel and accessories. And the way I got into it was my son's elementary school had ordered apparel from Florida that was being sourced out of Georgia. And Georgia was on back order probably because they were getting it from overseas, but none of that was communicated down at the school level. So I was like, I could do that. Like, I could totally do that. And once I decided to do it, within 2 weeks, I was able to take my first order. And it's just kind of evolved from there because during the pandemic, schools closed. So we had to pivot. And I was like, Lord, I know that you saw this coming. So where are we pivoting to? So I can pivot pretty easily. And now I do more global merchandising and just typical swag, like, these cups, enamel pins, lanyards, anything that you can put a logo on or brand.
I see.
That is what I would do in great volume.
I see.
Yeah.
That's good. No, but I think there's a couple steps along the way when people evaluate someone they may or may not want to vote for, kind of how they got into it, what are some of those values, and then what are they doing now, and bringing those skills to elected service. So I think you've covered a lot of those bases early on in the discussion. So serving in Los Alamitos, that is a 5-member city council, and the second smallest city in Orange County, 11,500. I actually like this quote you had in your bio. It says, Mayor Doby firmly believes in the culture and wonder that is this small town and is excited to do her part to help the community grow and thrive. My wife for years would watch the Hallmark Channel, and she'd say, "Oh, geez, it'd be so nice to move to a Hallmark town."
Hmm.
Um, is Los Alamitos a Hallmark town?
To some degrees,
Yeah,
yes.
but I don't think people would even consider um, there is small town America in Orange County,
Hmm.
and truly in Los Alamitos, that is a small town in
Hmm.
small town America,
Hmm.
right? What are those virtues?
So, some that we're still holding on to are the families.
Hmm.
I meet, like, we do something called the Mayor's Business Spotlight in our city. And the business that we spotlighted for December, it's two young men that went to the high school. They went out, got their degrees, started their families, and they came back. And there's so much of that. Like my husband graduated from the high school and then he came back. So a lot of his
And when you
generation
say the high school,
Los
it is Los
Alamitos,
Alamitos
the
High School,
Griffins. He
right?
is he
The
is
the
a
high school.
Griffin.
Yes,
Yes. We only have one high school in Los Alamitos. We've
right.
got two middle schools. I think we've got six or seven elementaries. Don't quote me. I have to count them all up. But I know we have one. And the Griffin, fun fact, is a combination of the oak lion and the McAuliffe eagle, because a griffin is an eagle and a lion. But yes, he is from Los Al High School. But a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people come back, and I think that that speaks to the small town community that we have, and we're
Right.
trying to evolve it from there, where we have space and opportunities for our families to come back. And it's kind of a balancing act, because 33 to 35% of our current population is our seniors. So it's trying to make sure that we still celebrate, acknowledge, and care for them, as well as the rest of, I'd say probably another 30-40% would be our children. So
Mm-hmm.
we've got very young, and then we've got our seasoned that we have to make sure that we account for and provide for. And we try
Mm-hmm.
valiantly. And I think we do a really good job
Right.
of meeting the needs of those two demographics. So I think that's where the small city facet comes in.
Yeah, I really think it's fascinating. I told you that when our family moved here from Chicago in 1968, my dad called ahead to one of his buddies and said, "Go rent us a house so that at least we
Hmm.
have a place to be for 6 months where we try to figure out where we want to
Hmm.
live." So
Hmm.
our first anchor was placed in Los Alamitos when we moved to California. So I have that good affection for the town because it
Yeah.
really is a town. Some people would look at Los Alamitos and think of some of the marquee elements of the city.
Hmm.
Um, and probably in this conversation, a lot of people would jump to the Los Alamitos racetrack, which
Cypress.
is not in the
It's
city
not
of Los
mine.
Alamitos.
Yeah. Neither is a fish company. I'll tell anybody, I went to your city. Where'd you go? I was at the racetrack. That's not mine. I
So,
went to the fish company. That's not mine. I have a list of restaurants.
the Catella Deli
Catella Deli is mine.
on that side of
Beautifully
Catella
remodeled.
is
That's mine.
on the south side of Catella
All
is
the
in
way
the
up to
city.
Walker.
Yes.
All the way up to Walker. On the
Is
right
that
hand side is me. On the
yes?
left hand side is Cypress.
Do you, so you know the history of Los Alamitos being named, the racetrack being named Los Alamitos?
It used to belong to us.
Well, as it was established in the county territory, but
Hmm.
the city of Los Alamitos way back then did
Hmm.
not want to have it associated with the city. But that's a different story, because we like Cypress too. But the other, I think, very significant element of Los Alamitos is also, I think it's the largest active military base in the city or in the county of Orange,
Hmm.
with the closure of El Toro and the closure of Tustin.
Hmm.
You have a base there. How does that impact your city?
We love it. We are, and actually this year I've looked to try to deepen the relationship with our base, because
Yeah,
it's been, they have such a great turnover at
yeah.
our base. The commanding officer swaps out every 2 years or so. So it's been really difficult to try to get any continuity. So one position that we created this year was a governmental affairs liaison, or the title is something like that, but it's one of our city staff that will be that continuity on our side. And then they can look to
I
make
see.
relationships at the base so that we can really begin to have a presence with them. Like, we love our base. Los Alamitos loves our Joint Forces training base. We love seeing our men in uniform. We love being able to have events there. We love seeing them come out to our events outside of the base. Like, we just had our Good Evening Los Alamitos, and the current Lieutenant Colonel, Daniel Fox. I think he's only been at the base for 3 weeks now.
Mm,
It's three, maybe 4 weeks, and he came out. And that means a lot to me, and that means a lot to the city, because we're really trying to work on that relationship, despite the fact that they have such a great turnover. So we're trying to make connections that go higher up and incorporate our electeds as well. So like our senator, our congressperson, whatever resources that we can try to offer to them that we have, so that we can have a budding reciprocal relationship
Right.
with our base.
Yeah, it's one of those bases. Again, since I grew up in Garden Grove, relatively near Los Alamitos base in the city, you'd always see the helicopters flying down Catella, east on Catella, and all of them originated at the base and that training facility there. So, what happens at that base today? So, it's not one that people look at and see the blimp hangars, now hangar at Tustin, and have an understanding of what took place at the Tustin base. What happens at the Los Alamitos base today?
Well, right now, most last time I was there a couple weeks ago, they had a huge deployment. So a lot of our officers have been deployed to the different conflict areas, actually. So there's not a whole slew of staff on hand, which was really kind of like, oh my gosh, when they were telling us the numbers, there were a couple thousand people that came out of our base to go to these other areas. And that was significant to me, because I'm like, how many did we have? Where that seems like
Right.
a significant sum
Right.
that are out. So it's an active base, and they're, maintaining their general, but there's so many people, like it's a joint forces. So it's also trying to get everybody like, okay, what do you know? What do you know? What do you know? What
Yeah.
do you know? And getting them all to collaborate. So it's
So,
active though.
so the California National Guard also uses that base. So deployment for all emergencies or firefighting and all that type of activity
Yep. Yeah.
operate out of Los Alamitos. I think a lot of people may not be aware of
Yeah.
how active and large and impactful that is, because most of it is surrounded by housing, right?
Yeah.
Most of the base itself,
Yes. On three sides. I think the other side is the golf course, right? I think the golf course butts up to it, but the rest of it is housing.
right? And does that, have you seen that creating a conflict within the city, or is it an embrace of the city and the residents with the base?
So the only time you get any scuttlebutt is when the air show comes to town. And it's newer residents that don't necessarily understand what is happening. And they're like, oh my God, it's shaking. What's going on? And it's like, no, well, it's an air show, but that's our military personnel. That literally, for cliche, is the sound of freedom that you're listening to. And most all of our residents see it that way. It's very, you might have one or two next door. You might have one or two people who are like, wah! And then the collective will come and say, no, we are a military town. We love that sound. If you don't, like, maybe go take your vacation those 3 or 4 days and you won't even notice it. Or just enjoy the fact that we still have access to the actual literal sounds of freedom. Not everybody gets to hear that. Not everybody gets to see it.
Right.
And the show itself is just
And not many
spectacular.
people stop and celebrate that.
Yeah.
I mean, they look at the personal impact as opposed to seeing the broader value.
Yeah.
So you're like most cities in Orange County that have a revolving mayor position, and you've served in that position almost to your completion of a year. So what have you accomplished this year?
Oh my goodness. Okay. So, a few of the things that I'm super proud of is I really made it a mission to deepen the relationships with each of our elected officials. So my, and I say my supervisor, my assemblyman, my senator, my congressperson, we have such deeply rooted relationships with each of those people that we did our 4th of July event on the 3rd of July, all of them were present. And I don't know the last time that happened.
But what value does that bring you?
Because one of them came from a funeral that day of a personal friend. And she was like, you know what, Tanya, I had to be here. I had to be here for you as a mayor. And then the deepening of that relationship was I was able to walk into a couple of rooms and submit, we call them shovel-ready proposals. And we, to date, got just about $3 million in appropriations and funding for infrastructure in our city. I don't know that that's ever happened before. And we've got our mayor's business spotlight, and we're looking to do something within our business community where it will put funds towards, say a business wants to do some facade work. Okay, great. We'll give you up to this much money. You just have to utilize resources that are within the city. So if you're repainting, then go to, what's the name of our paint company? I can't think of it, so I'm not going to say, but we have one. It's right on.
Organol lumber,
Organol lumber.
right?
Like you just have to
Yeah,
utilize the surfaces that are
got to
within our
connect
city.
that and
Yes.
Anaheim family business.
Okay, well, yeah, it could be with Anaheim family business, but Ganal and
Ganal
Los
is
Al.
located in Los Alamitos as well. So
Yes, but we've really tried to focus because I'm a small business owner.
Yes.
So I have a deep passion for, like, during one of the things during the pandemic was there was funding available, but in LA. And I was like, city manager, go and get the equivalent of whatever Orange County is doing for our businesses. And we were able to do that as well. So it's really like I'm the alternate to SCAG. I went and got a seat on OCOG. I have a Macau City seat. I'm up for a position with ACCOC. It's just really deepening the network of connections that we have and letting people know, okay, Los Al is no longer just going to sit back and watch what everybody else is doing. We're a player and we have input and we want to be a part of the conversation. So that's really been my mission this year, is to make sure that, like, when I say from small town to small city, that's what it is. Like, I actually get pleasure when someone says, Los Al, we've never seen y'all in this room before. Well, baby, I'm here.
yeah.
We're not going anywhere.
And unlike most elected officials in Orange County, or for that matter, the state, you're not identified with a political party. You've chosen to be registered as no party preference. Why is that?
You know, I am a very by the issues person, and then just candidly speaking, I think because I'm so new to the political landscape, if I were to declare a particular party, I would get looped into the new group. And I have found that there is a great disparity between whatever I call them, the old versus new. And it's a great disparity between the two. And I think that some of my thoughts are more old school. And I believe in communication. There's not a single thing that I don't necessarily have an opinion on. And I'll talk to you about anything. So I look at it as a conversation starter. If you would like to know anything about anything that I think, let's talk about it, because I might be able to have my mind changed, and I'm open to that. But I understand that diversity of thought is what helps us to grow. And I've noticed in some of the hard and fast, like political spaces, there's no room for growth or evolution of thought. It's just, this is what we think. And I've never been a fan of groupthink. I'm the oldest of 5. So it's like, if we're going to do anything, we're going to do whatever I said. So it's like, no, let's talk about it. So I think that's more what drives my.
No, but that is, I think that the general voter, general public looks for that. But a lot of people in politics are operating the way it has always been. The one thing is interesting is, when I ran for local office after I served in the state legislature, it's very clear that the California Constitution specifically says all local offices will not have party identifiers with them. So you don't run as partisan candidates. You run as nonpartisan or not party identified. Now, anybody can figure out how you're registered or how you vote or those types of things if they're interested. But the point is, I do like the virtue in local government that it's not always about a party, or if you are of one party versus the other, then you're automatically at odds. And I mean, within your council, you see that. I mean, that you're dealing with people on your council that way. Right?
Well, what I love is, I think one of the greatest compliments that I'm paid is, Tanya will work with anyone. It does not matter how you identify.
Right.
She's here to do the work. So if you're willing to roll your sleeves up and work with her on anything, she's willing to work with you. And I've had, all of my electeds in Orange County are Republican. I've had most all of them ask me for an endorsement. And that says something to me as well, because they know that I'm no party preference. And I get significant love from both sides of the aisle. I'm talking hardcore Democrat and hardcore Republican. And that also really means more to me than being able to say, oh, well, I identify as whatever. I would rather be recognized as, no, she's going to do the work. It doesn't matter what you call her, just call her. She'll have her shovel ready and she's ready to get the work done.
That's good. And one thing I know we have bonded over, and I really appreciate how open you are in presenting your faith, and you have a faith, and that has been a guiding element, as you referenced earlier in our conversation. So, what does that mean to you in serving an office and serving the community to be a faith-based woman?
That means I'm accountable to somebody bigger than y'all.
Yeah.
So I'm not moved by the faces, is what I tell my children. You can't be moved by the faces because someone is always going to feel a type of way, right? But realistically, if they really wanted to affect a change the way that I've chosen to affect a change, submit your name next time. If you really believe that you can offer something better, please come and do it. But I don't pay very much mind to people that would rather sit back and then tell others how they should do it when you'll never have all of the information that I have access to. You only have what I'm able to tell you at any given time. So that's how I'm able to do it. I didn't call myself to this seat. So I'm not worried about it. Like I don't think no one can come and take it from me, and that's what causes me to function from a different place of excellence, because I'm also not looking for a person to be like, oh my god, you did such a great job. I'm looking for that well done at the very end of the day.
Right.
So I think that's what probably is the most mitigating factors for me on in that space.
Well, very well put, and thank you very much for coming and sharing your thoughts. And for these last few days, you're mayor of Los Alamitos. Congratulations, Madam Mayor, and thanks for coming and sharing your point of view.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.